Like kale, coconut water, and crossover fanny packs. It's amazing how a thing once deemed evil can suddenly become acceptable. I guess it's time for...
And now, the Greg Gutfeld Show presents Only When You're a Democrat.
I wonder, did you say it is not kids in cages?
You said it is not kids in cages. We've seen some photos now of containers. Is there a better description? Is it kids in containers instead of kids in cages? What is the White House's description of this facility?
Well, let me give a broader description of what's happening here. We have a number of unaccompanied minors, children who are coming into the country without their families.
What? So now it's no longer kids in cages separated from their parents. It's teens in facilities traveling alone, like backpacking through Europe. Yeah, now they admit it was never about tearing kids from their mom and dads, just protecting them from strangers. So now they discover nuance. Oh my, immigration is actually hard, and this border stuff is harder. We could really use a wall, Ubby. Well, that was close. I was waiting for Jen to say, but Peter, we made sure it's women putting kids in cages. Sorry, facilities. Remember that?
What is President Biden doing for my small business? First and foremost, he nominated a woman to lead the Small Business Administration who formerly worked there.
Yeah, because gender matters more than competence. I wonder if it goes over well in her free time.
Hello, have you been in contact with anybody suspected to have coronavirus in the past 14 days?
Well, as you know, Joe Biden appointed me, and I am a woman, so he, does appoint women.
It's a yes or no question.
It doesn't always have to be a yes or no answer, John.
It's Steve.
Just because I am a woman, that does not mean I need you to mansplain your name to me. So we appreciate your work, but the White House is going a different direction with the kitchen staff.
Why?
Well, it is absolutely crucial to President Biden that every person in his kitchen is a woman. He wants all of his sandwiches to be made by women. Maybe your wife could apply.
She's a lawyer.
Oh, that's okay. If she is a woman, then she belongs in the kitchen.
Isn't that sexist?
Wow, have you been reading this story about the woman who killed her husband in his sleep? It's crazy.
Well, to me, what is crazy is that it's 2021, but you don't seem to understand that a woman can do anything a man can do.
It says here that his skull was shattered.
Oh, well, you know what else was shattered? The glass ceiling, right? Murder is not just for men anymore, and that's something that President Biden takes very seriously.
Of course, everything bad under Trump became everything awesome under Biden because new Democratic management means new names and new perspectives. Unemployment isn't so bad, it's family time. Rising crime, it's part of the equitable redistribution. Children in cages, really, it's just a camp out for needy kids. And look at the vaccines. Under Trump, who was telling you not to take them?
Let's just say there's a vaccine that is approved and even distributed before the election. Would you get it?
I would not trust Donald Trump, and it would have to be a credible source of information that talks about the efficacy and the reliability of whatever he's talking about. I will not take his word for it.
And yet, like a robotic jukebox, she's changed her tune.
I promise you, and I am telling you, this vaccine is safe, and it will save your life and the lives of your family and your community, and we have it within our power to actually do that. So get your vaccination when it is your turn. It will save your life.
I was skeptical about the vaccine, but you turned me around.
Why was he skeptical in the first place? Her! It's amazing what happens when you have to be the adult in the room, but when you're with Sharpton, who's left? But the Dems always have the advantage, with the media being their in-house or out-house PR squad. I wonder how Joe's handling this.
And now, President Biden on words.
It's all about words, man. Change the word, you change the policy. You say cages, I say containers. You say containers, I say cantinas. That's right. I learned about words from Barack Obama when I was his vice principal. We're going to take these kids, we're going to move them from CPB to HHS. Then we're going to sit back and watch CNN show us a little TLC. You down with OPP? Oh, you know me, Uncle Joe. Text Joe to naughtybynature.gov.
Of course, he's our president, but you wouldn't know it if you watched those other late night shows.
He's still their president.
Remember back in 2019 when Donald Trump met Kim Jongun in Vietnam? They had a summit there. Well, according to a former national security official, after the summit, Trump offered to give Kim a ride home on Air Force One.
But old Dolt 45 is not out of the woods yet, because today the Supreme Court denied his final bid to block the release of his tax returns.
Personally trying to spread the disease to as many people as you can, like President Outbreak monkeys.
They're like the schlumps who never got over not going to the prom. So they relive it every day. Or maybe they just hire lazy hack writers who refuse to see anything funny about the new administration. Fact is, they need Trump. And every story needs to be about Trump. They could really use a network that caters to their addictions.
You're watching ATN, all Trump news, because everything else is boring by comparison.
I'm Anderson Lemon with all Trump headlines for this minute. Tiger Woods is lucky to be alive after a serious accident in California. Woods might have lost control of the vehicle, but experts theorize climate change could have played a role. A serious existential risk Donald Trump continues to deny because he hates clean air, water, and birds. Speaking of birds, bird watchers have spotted a once-in-a-lifetime rare half-male, half-female cardinal. And we are sure if Donald Trump would have his way, this bird would never be able to serve in the military or be allowed to marry another half-male, half-female cardinal because he is a heartless, transphobic monster. Bruce Springsteen has been fined $450 for drinking tequila in a national park. But after having Donald Trump as president for 4 years, shouldn't all of us be allowed to drink tequila in a national park? I mean, seriously, he is really evil. My life is a wreck. I've been drinking tequila since noon, and it's all on that horrible jerk. From Washington, I'm Anderson Lemon, All Trump News.
But maybe the media is in for a hell of a wake-up call. Remember the sticker that says objects in the side view mirror are closer than they appear? Convexity offers a large field of view that makes the objects look smaller. Trump's the opposite. In that rear view mirror, the larger field of vision is telling you something else. It's the Dems that are getting smaller, not him, because they really can't do a better job than Trump. He kind of aced the test, and they're trying not to flunk it. In that mirror, here's where Trump comes out ahead. First, North Korea. In 4 years, what Obama deemed the most pressing threat to the incoming administration now isn't even on Biden's to-do list. Why? Did Trump solve the most pressing problem before the pandemic? The vaccines. Their effectiveness is being called miraculous by the press. Who pushed that forward? Did Trump solve the most pressing problem, which is the pandemic, before Biden even emerged from the basement? The Middle East peace deals. If this happened under Obama, the CNN Washington Bureau would be drowning in its own tears of joy. The economy. If Trump hadn't ushered in such a historic economic machine, would we have endured the pandemic with unemployment dropping now to around 6% with a GDP roaring back? Could it be the tax breaks and deregulation helped? China, who saw them coming first, while D.C. cronies and corporations cozied up to these communists. One orange visionary was yelling, "What about our workers? What about our country?" And who exposed fake news for what it was and shall never be the same. So it's amazing looking back, and it's funny looking forward. One thing's for certain, the media isn't looking anywhere except at their own navels. Their next headline, belly button lint, another shameful legacy of Trump.
Period.
Let's welcome tonight's guest. She bought pillowcases for her marshmallows. Her new book, Everything Will Be Okay, comes out March 9th. It's a thriller. My co-host on The Five and co-anchor of America's Newsroom, Dana Perino. He's afraid of his own shadow, which is why he's always so clean-shaven. Comedian Joe Mackey. They call her Pool Q because she's skinny, blunt, and can be found leaning against the wall at most dive bars. Host of Sincerely Cat on Fox Nation, Catherine Tiff. and flatbed trucks are his bedroom slippers. My massive sidekick and host of Nuff Said on Fox Station, Tyrus. All right, Dana. What's so special about being a woman anyway?
Well, apparently, we haven't gotten the memo.
Yes, yes.
When Jen Psaki continually says, well, he appointed a woman, the thing about the Small Business Administration, which was the specific question you got from that Instagram Live she did, both of President Trump's SBA nominees were women.
Right.
Linda McMahon and Irma Aguirre.
That's true.
And really good. And like Linda McMahon, that was a coup.
Yes.
In order to get her to come into the administration, and to those economic numbers that you pointed to, she really focused on that, and they followed through. And then I also was reminded of, remember Mitt Romney's binder full of women?
Yes.
And he talked about how we wanted to hire more women at Bain Capital, so I had binders full of women, and people made the Democrats. It was like, he'll never hear the end of it.
Mm-hmm.
But his whole point was that he was trying to hire women.
But that's exactly what this was. That was so crazy, right? Because she could have said in response, well, now we have Isabel Guzman here, and she's going to be great because of this qualification and because of that qualification. Use that time to really prop up the qualifications of a woman. But instead, she just said, well, we hired a woman. So she's basically telling the country that they were just checking a box.
Yes.
That's actually incredibly offensive to women, and she thinks it's a progressive thing when really it's the opposite.
And also, it's just filthy.
Yeah.
It's just filthy. Or maybe I heard it in a filthy way, Joe. I don't really know. What's your take with I'm sorry, Tyrus. I'm just telling you I'm sorry.
You're rattled because your little mind is telling you to say so many things right now.
Yes! You knew it, didn't you?
Oh, because I have the same little brain right now. Like, this is the one time I don't mind being skipped.
Yes! I'm sorry. I just have to, I'm sitting there and I can't let, a joke go by.
Nope.
But then it's like, I have to, Joe, save me. Pick a topic. Late night hosts, Joe Biden, Ronald Reagan.
I'll stay on the current topic. Her saying that we hired a female Treasury Secretary instead of answering what the administration was going to do on the GameStop trading fiasco makes perfect sense, because that sounds a lot better than Janet Yellen just took $800,000 to do speeches in front of the people she now has to regulate. Because obviously, you're one of the best comedians in the world. You clear maybe $500,000 if you sell it in an arena. I'm sure that speech wasn't better than most comedians in the world, and I won't disagree that was a bribe unless you pay me $800,000.
It is amazing. That is a lot of money, Tyrus. A lot of money. What do you think about anything?
Well, so what's our next topic?
I want to hear a joke.
Okay, I'm never afraid, right? Isn't that our moniker here? Never afraid. Okay?
Yes.
I am afraid.
Yes.
Here's the thing. When do we draw the line with the I hired a woman? Could you imagine his next interview on whatever thing you're doing in there? So,
Arby's.
Gutfeld, explain yourself. How do you explain the success for the Gutfeld show? I hired a black.
Right.
He's not super black, but he's like that middle black. So, obviously there was some miscegenation in his family at some point, but we're fine with that. But he's still technically, according to Webster's dictionary, he's black.
And Webster,
Miami. Yeah, and
Webster, not Webster.
Yeah,
not Webster.
Not little Webster.
Yes.
The big Webster. But for this, it was by Webster.
Yes.
So literally every time we do the show and you introduce me, you don't have to do those crazy, insulting things about my shoe size and how tall I am. You would be like, and he's black.
Yes.
And you just move on from that, because that's
exactly what she did.
It's exactly what she did. You're a woman.
That should be. We should do a show where all the introductions are just based on ethnicity.
Yes. The girl.
The girl.
I'm kind of offended by that she answered that gender mattered at all.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Aren't we supposed to be offended by that?
Everybody's drinking from the same brainwash. It's a shame. It's a shame.